Effects of Pandemic to the Philippines Economy. In this video, we are going to show some pictures and clips which are showing the effects of pandemic to the Philippines economy. Before we proceed, let us know first the definition of economy. Economy is the wealth and resources of a country or region, especially in terms of production and consumption of goods and services. Since we already know the meaning of economy, we will show you the pictures and clips that describe or telling the effects of pandemic to the Philippines economy. First, this picture shows that due to the spread of COVID-19 pandemic has gripped the world and a deadly virus brought about an economic standstill. On the other hand, to support families, a lot of Filipinos use social media to earn for their everyday life. Today, our safety is the most important, so people chooses to buy online than going outside. Now, let's go on to the clips that we got from YouTube.
Just in light of what we're seeing in the rise in cases and the new measures the government has imposed to try to control this rise, how detrimental will this be to growth?
Yeah, it will definitely have an impact, as we have already seen in the early parts of the second quarter this year when the national lockdown was imposed. Really a sudden stop of economic activity. I mean, obviously the modified ECQ is probably less impactful, but again, bear in mind we are still seeing a fairly significant pickup in new daily cases. Which again, I think is affecting people's mobility. There's quite a bit of public fear factor. Spending is not going to pick up as well as a result of that. So I think there is quite a bit of an urgent need to contain the outbreak first before we can see any signs of a bit more of a sustainable recovery.
In this clip, it is said that lockdown will surely have an impact to our economy because during these days, the virus is still having new daily cases. The interviewee said that it really affects the people's mobility.
Let's now dig deeper into this economic contraction. Will it continue, and what else can be done to help with a recovery? Joining us now on the final word is BDO Unibank's Chief Market Strategist, Jonathan Ravelas. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us on the program, differing views in terms how the recovery will take shape going forward. But let's take a look at this quarter from April to June. What is your forecast, and how bad will the contraction be if there will be one?
Well, good evening, Rico. Most likely, this will eventually, we will really take a hit this second quarter. Definitely, we could probably contract by at least 3%. Mainly because we eventually lost the golden opportunity to do a lot of infrastructure spending during the summer. We couldn't deploy our infrastructure mainly because of the risks of COVID-19. Plus, the rest of the economy eventually took a halt, especially for Luzon. So definitely the contraction is most likely going to happen in the second quarter. But there's a silver lining to this. I guess if we look at the internet, the informal economy is well and alive. If you have a Facebook, there's such thing as marketplace. There's a Viber, and there is a communities that are there. So they're actually thriving. It's just that it's the underground economy.
During April to June, our economy contract to at least 3% because we are not able to do a lot of infrastructure since it is lockdown and COVID-19 is really risky. On the other hand, informal economy and the internet is saving our lives.
Ramboy Panganiban says his family feels lucky if they are able to eat 3 times a day. He used to earn an equivalent of $6 a day selling food, but now he says he's happy if he's able to bring home 4.
Wala na kaming makakain.
We've been hungry since March.
In the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, we finished off the very little cash we had. And since we couldn't really go out to work, we just borrowed money.
Many people here are in a similar position. They used to be part of what the government calls the informal sector. They are either self-employed or run businesses providing goods and services. But now they tell us many people here have lost their jobs, and some have resorted to begging.
Due to lockdown, a lot of Filipinos lost their jobs for a while. Poverty and financial problems were in vain.
Survey comes as the country is well into its 7th month of community quarantine, one of the longest ever implemented by a government in the world. The Philippine government imposed a lockdown when the coronavirus pandemic broke out. But it pushed the country into one of its worst economic recessions in decades. The government says it is doing the best it can. It has given out cash to millions of Filipinos and says it hopes to give more.
Kaya nga po tayong nagbubukas ng ekonomiya.
We are saddened about this. That is why we are reopening the economy to restart jobs and to generate more income for those most affected.
But others say more could be done.
Lastly, our government were something to reopen our economy. They gave cash and goods, but it is not enough for their everyday lives. Thank you for listening and watching. We hope you have learned something from our video. Always remember that learning never exhausts our minds. Happy learning!